What's up, folks? Welcome back to 802 Garage. Here we are at the affordable 2002 WRX wagon automatic, and I'm going to get straight into the drama here. It has bad head gaskets. At least it allegedly has bad head gaskets. So let me prop the hood here and then I will explain. But basically, I bought this car for $1,000, which is a really good price. It's got 123,000 miles basically, and it's not rusty everywhere. I got a pretty good deal, but I bought it like that knowing it had a major transmission issue. If you want to know more about that, click this little link in the upper corner to check out the video where I introduced this car. But then today, basically, right after I get it home, the drama starts. And please do watch this video all the way to the end if you can, because I want to explain everything I knew about this car when I bought it, how I learned that the head gaskets are bad, and I really want your opinion on what I should do or how I should feel or whatever, because to be honest, this kind of consumed my day. I was planning to make a totally different video, but this is what you're going to get because it's happening now and it's kind of important, and I genuinely want all your opinions and advice. So the basic point is I put up the video introducing this car, and then someone messages me today saying, hey, by the way, I know the kid who sold you that car. He put 2 bottles of O'Reilly head gasket fixer into the cooling system because it has bad head gaskets. And so I'm like, great, right? And here's the thing. The kid did not tell me he put head gasket fixer in this. And that's the main issue here. He seemed really honest about everything else. He told me that he beat the thing up. He told me that it went into a ditch, which I actually have a picture of that I'll throw up right here. And I knew about that. That's why there's some dents and dings and some scratches. It's not in perfect shape. You know, the bumper obviously has a tiny gap there. He told me that he blew one of the struts and replaced it. He told me he blew an axle and replaced it. He told me there's a frozen camber bolt. Lots of little things, right? He was very honest. He even told me that he screwed up the trans when he was going sideways in the snow on these all-season tires and heard a loud bang and it might need a new torque converter transmission. That's all fine. That's all well and good. I appreciate that honesty. I got a pretty good price on the car. I also do want to point out, because I want to be fair here and give both sides so you can give me a proper opinion, that when I first messaged him, I asked him what was wrong with it, and he said he thinks it might need head gaskets. I'll put that message on screen right here. For the rest of our conversation, until I went to see the car, he never mentioned the head gaskets again. Now, the description, I'll show you the ad right here and the pictures that went with it. All he said was, runs rough, $1,000 firm, right? So when I inquired about what he meant by runs rough, he told me that the transmission wouldn't shift. And I'm like, well, that's a transmission issue, not an engine issue. And the other thing is, a lot of people don't realize this engine specifically, and most of the turbo engines, actually all the turbo engines, don't actually suffer from head gasket issues at nearly the rate of the naturally aspirated EJ25 especially. And that's because from the factory, they come with MLS multi-layer steel gaskets, not the single-layer coated gaskets that are famous for blowing in the EJ25 engine. Those gaskets, the coating itself actually fails, and the head gasket failures are prevalent. We all know this. It's from like 97, 98, whatever the first year of the EJ25, all the way through 2010 is when it was allegedly fixed for sure. The turbo engines, especially the EJ20, do not suffer from that same failure. It is not surprising for these engines to go 200,000 miles plus if left stock and not blow head gaskets. However, as with any engine, if they get overheated, if they're beaten on wrong, if they're modded improperly, the head gaskets can go. So, I obviously asked a bunch more questions when I got to the kid's house. I did ask him, so you mentioned something about head gaskets, why did you think that? He said, well, it did overheat a while ago, and he said, it overheated a couple times, I found out I had a stuck thermostat. And that makes sense. Now, overheating is dangerous, as I said, but he said he replaced the thermostat, he added coolant, and he hasn't had a problem since then. It also had this leak here on the reservoir, so running it low on coolant could have been an issue causing overheating. So the stuck thermostat is not a problem, that leak is not a problem, overheating a little bit, not a major issue. And so he said he added coolant, and then the car did not have any more problems. So I asked him, how much have you driven it since then? I believe he told me a few thousand miles. Now, it's also very normal for Subarus to get air stuck in the cooling system, and a lot of people don't know how to bleed it out. So it's very possible that it ran low on coolant from that leak, he added coolant, it still had air bubbles in it, whatever, the stuck thermostat. So all of this points to me saying, okay, well, if you've put coolant in it and it's not blowing coolant into the reservoir, I did ask him that, he said no, and it's not consuming coolant, I asked him that and he said no, that means that it's probably not a bad head gasket. And I, of course, did check inside the reservoir, and what was interesting to me, you might be able to see, it's very clear liquid in there, and there was actually ice in it when I was there on that day, which means it's not enough coolant mixture in the reservoir. So I was worried that the whole engine was like that. But that also means that once I opened this cap and saw that this coolant is very green, obviously a proper mix, or at least it has coolant in it, it means that the coolant, which is green, is not being blown into the overflow, because then that would be green as well and wouldn't have ice in it. You know, it would be mixing back and forth, and you wouldn't have water in one and coolant in the other. So all that led me to believe probably doesn't have bad head gaskets, because obviously I wanted to know that since he mentioned it. What he did not tell me is that he thought it had bad head gaskets, and he put in 2 bottles of head gasket sealer. And of course, I did check to see if there was any head gasket sealer, because I checked that on every car, and I didn't initially see any evidence. You know, it might have been, it was fairly light out, but so I pulled this cap off, and on initial inspection, I don't see anything, because normally head gasket sealers have that copper stuff, or even, you know, shiny bright metallic particles, and you'll see some of them left around there. You'll almost always see them where some spilled on the outside or on the cap itself, and I didn't see any. What I do see now is this brown buildup on the cap, and I'm wondering if it's just a different kind of sealer than I'm used to seeing. You can see that flakes off. But that also just kind of looks like normal, regular corrosion that might bubble up to the top. So I'm really not sure, but I didn't see any direct evidence of head gasket sealer. See, like that right there just looks like rust, which, you know, could come from the reservoir because that's made of steel. So again, I didn't see any evidence of the head gasket fixture. I'm not sure what kind he used. You know, maybe it's like the Blue Devil kind or something else that doesn't have the metallic particles in it. Whatever. I hate this stuff. You shouldn't use it unless it's like a last ditch on a car that's this valuable with lowish miles, that's not rusty. You know, you should have the head gaskets done properly if they're going bad. But apparently it worked. If it did have bad head gaskets and he put in the sealer, it worked. Because I drove this home about 50 miles from anything from 30 miles per hour all the way up to 65, you know, revving it at 4,500 RPM, certainly making some boost repeatedly, flooring it and getting off it, listening to the sounds. And the car did not overheat. Actually, if anything, I was surprised that the car stayed a little bit cooler than it should. Because if you look at the coolant gauge right here, basically those 2 dots in the middle, it's supposed to rest right between them, and it was actually closer to the bottom one, which is very unusual for a Subaru in my experience. They almost always hover right at the middle. So that also makes me wonder if maybe he put in a colder thermostat, which you also should not do, by the way. You should put in the OEM temperature thermostat unless you really, really know what you're doing. Basically, that's where I'm at. Now, I don't know how mad to be, and I don't know what to do about this, because the kid did tell me he thought it might need head gaskets, right? So right up front, he was upfront about that, and I understand that's part of the low price. And he was upfront about the transmission issue. Sorry about that, my camera died again from the cold. But the bottom line here is he was honestly about seemingly everything except for the fact that he put in that head gasket sealer, which makes a big difference. And it's not even so much the money, it's not the issues. You know, it really does bum me out that I got into this thinking, okay, I have to at worst replace the transmission, lots of other little issues, and it hopefully should be able to drive it for a while. It's inspected. And now instead I'll likely have to pull the engine, possibly the transmission as well, replace head gaskets or the engine. You know, so yes, more money, more time. But what really gets me is just honesty. That's all I care about. And I bought that red 2.5 RS that hasn't really been on the channel much yet. And I went through a similar thing with that, something that actually made me much more angry, but I haven't covered that story on purpose. You will get it soon. There was definitely some drama there as well, although it kind of worked out in the end, but I digress. The basic point is, even if he had told me he had done that and given me all the details on what happened in that situation, why it was overheating, why he did that, who told him to do it, I probably still would have bought the car. Would I have wanted a few $100s off the price? Probably yes. You know, I probably would have walked away if he stayed for around $1,000 like he did. But I get it. He's a kid. He owed his mom for the car. He allegedly paid $3,500 or $4,000 for it, depending on who I believe, his friend or him. You know, friend. And you know, he still owed his mom. He said $1,100, and you know, his mom said he couldn't sell it for less than $1,000. I pretty much believe all that. And I gave the money to his mother. The car was in his mother's name, and so that pretty much leads me to where I'm at here. I want to know what you all think. How upset should I be that he didn't tell me about the head gasket fixer? I know I have a right to be somewhat upset, but what do you think? Is that just the game when you're buying used cars? Is it as is? No, like I don't think so. I don't lie to people when I sell them things. I just don't, or omit information like that. And like I said, I asked him, a litany of questions about the coolant, about why it was overheating, etc. And he neglected to mention that one thing, which is very important. It gums up everything. It means he thought the head gasket was bad for sure, and it means it might be the only reason the car is running normally now. Beyond that, what do I do about it? Should I talk to him first and say, what the hell, man? Get confirmation, have texts, have evidence, or should I just call his mom? Because honestly, I bought the car from his mom. I handed her the money, shook her hand in the end. I shook his hand too, and it was signed over in her name. And if she doesn't even know that he didn't tell me this, maybe she'll want to actually teach her, high school son a lesson, because I know I would want to. And honestly, all that I would like to be made whole in this is maybe like $200-300, because I'm going to have to drop at least 500 to fix this now. My plan would be to take out the engine. OEM multi-layer steel head gaskets are like $75. I'm obviously going to do all the timing at the same time if it doesn't look like it's brand new, and that's like $300 easily. And cam and crank seals front and rear, because the engine has to come out. Probably that little cover on the back if it's leaking. There's many things. Probably valve covers. There's no point to not do that while it's out, especially if I'm going to pass this car to somebody else and ask top dollar for it mechanically. So what do you think I should do? Should I contact him? Should I contact the mother? Should I just leave it alone? My thoughts are maybe the mom will be like, wow, I can't believe he did that. Yes, I will give you back a little bit of money and he'll owe it to me. That's what I would do as a parent. This is the sort of thing, sure, I could try to take them to small claims court or something like that. But honestly, I don't have, the time and energy for that over, $200 to $500 I might get in the end. So that's basically where I'm at. I just really wish I didn't have to hear about this from someone who knows him and knows that he did that and didn't tell me, rather than from him himself. And he's young and he's got lessons to learn, but clearly this is a small community. You know what I'm saying? The fact that 2 people within 2 days contacted me to let me know this, he's got to understand that he's going to be burning bridges, that he's going to be making enemies if he does stuff like this. No, this is not the end of the world. No, I'm not going to hate the kid. I'm not going to go after him. I'm not angry. I'm not furious. I'm just disappointed, and it adds a bunch of issues for me, and I would like to be made whole, if you will. So I want to know what you all think I should do, how you would react in this situation, if you think everything I've said is valid, or if I'm, missing something, because obviously when you're in a situation like this, you can be blind to a lot of the facts. And I tried to be fair and reasonable with all you guys and tell you the truth, that he mentioned head gaskets to me, that he did tell me the car had a lot of issues, but that I just didn't know about the stop leak, about the head gasket fixer. And that's probably the most important detail about what's wrong with the car, other than the transmission. So that is a big issue. In the end, I will still make money on this car. Even if I have to buy an engine, I can find them for between $100 and $1,000 locally. I can find the transmissions for between $100 and $500 locally. Even with that and labor and putting it all back together, cleaning it up, fixing all the little things, at the end of the day, I have no doubts I could eventually get $3,000 to $4,000 for this car. But obviously, if I'm making a net profit of 0 and I put in 40 hours of labor, that's not a great deal for me, And obviously, if I can't drive it right now that's not great for me either. So for right now, the next steps on this car are definitely still diagnosing the transmission just so it can drive around fine, and flushing the coolant system to see what comes out of it, and also make sure I'm not leaving that head gasket fixer in here. I'd rather that the head gasket, show its true colors sooner rather than later, and just that I know that I have to fix it. And as soon as I have the rear subframe in the 2.5 RS, I can pull out of the garage. I could even do head gaskets this winter if I have to. I really don't want to. If the head gasket sealer's holding and I put fresh coolant in there and I see no issues, I'm going to run it like that for the winter, because doing this in the spring would be so much more enjoyable. But I do need to fix the trans. I do need to flush the coolant. I have some other little issues to fix, and then I'll see how it goes from there. I'm not going to try to give the car back and get my money back or anything like that. I think we're well past that point. I could, I guess. I doubt it would work, but I'm not unhappy with the purchase. Not even at the price. People try to sell these cars all the time for $3,000 with a bad head gasket, sometimes in worse condition than this, because they are idiots. They're not worth that. But at this price, I'm okay with it. I just wish I had more honesty involved in the purchase. And that's really it for me. And yes, I know a lot of people have mentioned check the rear strut towers. Looking inside the wheel wells, they look pretty good. I don't see any rust through, but I know that it can hide on the inside, so I will do that. That'll be in a later video. And I'm also, you know, I'll probably make a few more videos on this and show you all the progress on it. But to be honest with you, I wasn't really expecting this car to be on the channel much at all. I was expecting to more or less introduce it, do a quick fix and drive it. It seems like people are at least interested in watching me fix it, so I probably will show that. You know, obviously I'm going to show you diagnosing and fixing the transmission issue, and then also what happens with this head gasket ordeal and any drama that comes from it. But I'm not looking for drama. I would love to get $200, $300 back on the car just to pay for a lot of the parts I'm going to need to fix, you know, the kids' mistakes. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. People don't like to admit fault, and they don't like to fix it when they're already caught in a lie. They just get cornered and act like coyotes. You know what I'm saying? But the mom, maybe the mom will help me out. So who knows? That's where I'm at. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. What should I do about this situation? How should I feel? How am I reacting? What would you do with the car? I just really want to know. As you know, I'm doing daily videos in December, and this isn't even the video I wanted to make for you today. I have other stuff I'm editing that will definitely be released, you know, very soon, obviously. But this came up, and I thought I should share it with you all. Other plans for the car are probably to rob this Turbo Smart, which I guess is definitely real, and put that on the RS and put the stock one back on this. You know, I basically want this car to be as stock as possible because I don't want to spend time modding an automatic. It's that simple. And I do want to sell it, and they're worth more unmodded than they are modded unless it's very expensive parts. So yeah, this isn't the video I wanted to make, but I hope you get some schadenfreude, you know, get some pleasure out of the drama that I'm going through. And I hope you can give me some advice or some kind words, or say, haha, you deserve it because you bragged about getting a good deal and this is your comeuppance. Whatever you want to say, that's not how I think about life. I try to give people good deals. I try to get good deals, and I usually get honesty, but sometimes it just doesn't quite work out. So on top of all that, as usual, if you did make it all the way to the end of the video, please do let me know in the comments, because I really like to know who the people are who just like watch the whole thing and want to know every bit. And also, of course, do go check out Monkey Wrenching. Check out his channel. I'll put a little link up here, and I'll put a link in the description if I remember to. He's trying to do daily videos with me, and so that's really cool to have that kind of motivation. And I've been talking to him about this whole situation and what I should do as well. Thank you all so much for watching 802 Garage, and yeah, you win some, you lose some, and sometimes it's in between. Everybody have a great day. Catch you very soon. Subaru!